is.
Alex, it's a little warm in here. Air conditioner or something?
It's very warm.
Come on.
I've told them to switch the heaters off. So when we come tomorrow... No. You what? Well, they told me it wasn't. They'll switch it off tomorrow. No. They'll get to get the flipping window locks open for tomorrow. Yeah, I'm sweating cobs and all. We've all lost some weight as well. It's wonderful, eh? Give you any suggestions at all? Okay, welcome back, everybody. We've got another hour and a half today, but before I get into the rest of the stuff, we've got so much stuff to do in the next hour and a half and tomorrow. It's going to be fast, bang, 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 bang. And because it is so bang, bang, bang and fast, that's why I wanted everyone to walk away with the 10 videos, the 9 audio tapes, the MP3 disc, and all the other stuff, the CD-ROMs, so that you've got everything there to jog your memory, to see it, to hear it, to remind you of the stuff that might not immediately jump into your mind, okay? So what we're going to do at the end, each and every one of you, at the end of the day, which is going to be like about 6, maybe a little bit tiny after, we're all going to reconvene at the Flying Horse Hotel. Now, some of you stopping there, some aren't, okay? Now, this, everyone's welcome to join us, but this is specifically for the 40-odd people that have got tickets that say they get the videos, the audio tapes, the CD-ROMs, and all that stuff, okay? The people who come because they've already got stuff of mine already, so got the ticket cheaper because they've already got all the videos at home, so didn't need them. Those people, you can come by all means, but we won't be giving you anything today, but I will have your diplomas and stuff for you 4 or 5 people tomorrow, because there's such an amount of stuff, okay?
At that point, can you bring some of the stuff tomorrow for us to cook?
If it's only a couple of people, the majority could do, we come and pick it up. We've got a room about this size, hotel room we booked, and it's basically full with file boxes. You both get, those that are getting the stuff get 2 A4 file boxes each. It's, you know, so it's best if you can take it to your hotels or
where is the Flying Horse, for those of us only know the place and where
right.
it's stayed?
Okay, well basically we'll let those that are in cars follow us. Those that aren't in cars, obviously the taxi will know where you're going to. But those that are in cars, if you follow us in the vehicle, which will take about 5 minutes after we finish, we'll just make sure they've locked up so nothing vanishes. You can follow us. It's literally the town centre where the town hall is, right opposite the town hall. It's the pub opposite the town hall.
With a big clock he's selling.
Yeah, exactly.
Alex, for those of us who has fortunate enough to purchase your material before, as I have, what will we be receiving? Anything additional?
Right, those people that have had stuff before, like yourself, have said to yourself you won't get the videos and stuff because you've already got them. Hence, you know, like those, there's about 4 other people like yourself who've got the discount because you've already got that stuff.
Right.
You'll still walk away with the diplomas and all that stuff, and 3 CD-ROMs. Now, I know you've got personally yourself 1 of the CD-ROMs, but there's another 2, a whole stack of new stuff that I've done, which is relevant to what we'll be covering tomorrow, marketing and getting your clients and all that kind of stuff, okay?
Will you bring that here? Do I have to go to the Flying Horse? Will you bring
No, you're alright, but the people who are getting all the videos need to come to the Flying Horse, preferably, okay? Right, let's crack on. We covered falling backwards, falling forwards, eyes glued together, locked hands over face. Right, Craig Williams' mic induction. This is all, because it uses a handheld mic.
Sorry, mate.
Very quickly.
When are you talking about speaking this stuff up?
Like, we finish here about 6 and then go straight there.
Straight there.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Kidoki. Now, I've not got this mic switched on. I'm just using it for effect, because on stage I use a handheld mic. And the reasoning behind that is because then you can pull it away from your mouth, and it's the same in group demos, and you can say things to the people on stage without them being heard by the audience. You can literally say, go on mate, do us a favour, you know, be a bit livelier, do this, do that, and the audience don't realise. The people on stage, because they've already fallen for so many tricks, think that's just part of the whole being hypnotised thing, especially if you just gently tap and say, go on mate, just make it a bit lively, and you'll find as you do it, it relaxes you more. So it sounds as though it's got something to do with hypnotising them more, but really what you're saying is, go on mate, get doing X, Y, Z. So this one's called the Craig Williams mic induction. Hello Chris. This, you can do this on somebody who you haven't done the locked hands on, but it was designed for using on people who you do the locked hands with. The version that really is down to suggestion, because, you know, in that position, as opposed to the above the head guaranteed to work. In which case, so put your hands together, stand up, Chris. We'll just imagine that Chris is one of the people who's come up and his hands are locked together like that, or at the point where his fingers are like that and he's given up because it got a bit painful. And then you say, okay sir, and again I'm going to do it sideways. Normally you do it that way, but so you can see, and say, so he's now actually facing you, but that's the audience now. Say, okay, feet together, that's brilliant, wonderful. What I want you to do is stare at the tip of the microphone, okay? And if you shout loud, if this was switched on, from here, it will still pick you up, okay? So the audience will still be able to hear you. So, I want you to stare directly at the tip of the microphone. I'm going to count from 3 to 1. On the count of 1, the microphone's going to tap you gently on the head. When it does, you'll feel yourself falling backwards. I won't let you fall and hurt yourself. You just lay down onto the floor and be relaxed. Keep staring at the tip of the microphone. 3, the deeper you go, the better you'll feel, and the better you feel, the deeper you'll go as you see that microphone moving towards you. Relaxing, going deeper and deeper. 2, just keep staring at that microphone at all times. Just keep staring at the tip, you feel yourself arm up, eyes closed, and obviously you stop yourself again because your back's buggered. Now, not surprised, I'm going to have to do all that. Now, as you see, what I did, I'm getting him to stare at the tip of the mic. His feet are together like that, so he's still in the pivot position. But obviously my foot's not behind him. But he's still in the pivot position, so he can very easily tip over. I've got hold of his wrist here, but not just below his wrist, a good part of his arm. And the reasoning behind that being that when he falls, which we're not going to let him do, but we can then bring the other hand with the other mic, with the mic, in. So we've got 2 hands on his wrist, which is locked together, to be able to break his fall to the floor so he doesn't actually hurt himself. It looks dramatic as he goes boom, but because you're breaking the fall, he actually is only falling, not from here to here, you've broken it to about here, so he's only falling about that much to the floor, and it doesn't actually hurt. But dramatically, visually, it looks like they're going boom. But in actual fact, you have broken the fall because you don't want to get sued, and you don't want to cause them problems because you want them to keep cooperating with you. Now, staring at the tip of the mic, it's saying 3 to 1, that's just all the usual psycho-babble blurb. You start off with it kind of here, so it's direct eye contact. So then when you say, I'm 3, you start moving it up. So they've got to look upwards. 2, not only are you moving it nearer to them, so they've got to keep looking at it, they've got to move the head even further back, okay, which means they're going off balance and they're going to fall when you release your grip on them. Not let go, but when you stop pulling them that way, because you're keeping them there as they're going, but then when you go with them and let them go, they're going to go because they've gone off balance. But then, as well as moving it so it's going further back, so they're going to follow it with the head, you're also slowly moving it in towards their eyes. And to demonstrate this, take your own finger, put it in front of you, and move it slowly towards your eyes and keep staring at the tip, and you'll notice you go bug-eyed. You keep your eye firmly on your finger, and it makes your eyes feel a bit ooh. And that's what you're doing with the mic, so you're making their eyes feel a bit ooh, which makes them think, oh, something strange is happening, and becoming hypnotised. And before they know it, when you tap them and go, I'm asleep, they've reached the point of no return, and they're going to the floor. So again, you've tricked them into it, if you like. You may as well stay there, Chris, because we've got race through these inductions, we've got so much stuff. Body flop induction. Okay, brilliant. Sit there, sir, that's wonderful. Again, it's probably best if I do it sideways on, to be honest, just so that people can see. A bit angled on, that's it. You do this with them facing the audience, obviously. I'm doing it this way so you can see what's going on behind. What you say to the person is, okay, feet firmly on the floor, palms upturned, and there is a good reason for this time, as I'll explain. What I'd like you to do, okay, is wonderful, this is just close your eyes. Okay, close your eyes, take a nice deep breath in, through your nose and out through your mouth. And remember, you've already done all the 1,000,001 other tricks beforehand to get them conditioned to believe in what you're doing. That's how you can get away with this stuff. Because there's only little minor tricks here, but They're very important to finish off everything you've done before. So you'd say, nice deep breath in. And so I'm going to count from 3 to 1. On the count of 1, you're going to feel your heavy head fall forward. You're going to relax. You're going to feel so good. Your eyes will remain tightly closed at all times. And on 3, the deeper you go, the better you'll feel. 2, relaxing more with each and every second that passes by. And then 1, nice deep breath in, and sleep. Relax deeper, 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 deeper. Sleep, eyes remain tightly closed. Right. Where the disorientation and confusion comes in here, so if you sit back up, Chris, what we were saying before about the steps, belief, expectancy, all your tricks have got that. Then disorientation and confusion, they've got the hands upturned. The reason for that being, it's easier to knock them off the knee. If they're that way, they tend to catch. So if they're palm upturned, you can knock them gently and they'll fall off. Okay? You've got the hands on the shoulders, so they can feel your hands on the shoulders. Nice deep breaths in. You release the pressure as they breathe in, and then as they breathe out, you gently push down in time with them. Okay? And then you count, you cycle bubble 3 down to 1. And as you get into 1, you say, nice deep breath in, because you want them to have breathed in and have the lungs full of air. At the moment you take your hands off their shoulders, they can feel that you've took them off, and the moment their hands are moving, they logically assume, well, that's his hands moving, my arms off my lap. But at that exact same second, your shoulder is pushing them forward in the chair, which they can't focus on 2 things at once. It's like, what the hell is going on? And because you've timed it all together, so it's nice deep breath in and sleep, relax deeper, deeper, and then you just do the gentle tap there like that's really good, you're a wonderful subject. Here you go, eyes remaining tightly closed at all times, telling them exactly what to do. It looks dramatic to the audience, and also there's so much disorientation because logically they think, oh, I can feel my hands now being moved, they were on my shoulders, but then it's suddenly, I'm like, this is in the chair, I can feel myself forward, but how did that happen? Because they haven't had a chance to realise that you've knocked them forward there. That's what we call on the videos and in the stuff, the body flop induction. Might as well stay there, Chris. Become a running gag, that, isn't it? Finger stare induction. Okay, very similar to the microphone, very similar to some of the stuff we said before. If you can just face slightly forward, Chris, that's wonderful, thanks, man. You say to them, I'm talking only to you, sir, because you're touching them on the shoulder, they know it's them. Everyone else then knows to keep staring at the light and getting their eyes fuzzy and feeling funny, so that they're getting even more belief in you before you come to them to do one of these induction things, and their eyes will be really knackered. The one you get to last, who's been staring at them for like 4 or 5 minutes, is going to be like gagging to close his eyes, get permission off you, which is essentially what you do, so that he can rest them. Okay, finger stare. So I'm talking to you, sir. I want you to stare directly at the tip of my finger. I'm going to count from 3 to 1. On the count of 1, you'll find your eyes are closed and you'll keep them tightly closed at all times. Notice I'm telling him exactly what's going to happen. So when it happens, he believes it's because I've hypnotised him. And also that he'll keep his eyes remain tightly closed at all times. So 3, the deeper you go, the better you feel. Nice deep breath in. And out. The deeper you go, the better you feel as you keep staring at my fingertip at all times. 2, relaxing more and more, and I'm just sleep like you have your head fall forward, eyes remain tightly closed. Right, so Chris, some of you may have noticed that we used our good buddy, although I did it with this hand, so I didn't use my finger, my thumb to move his neck, I used my fingers to move his neck, down, gently, and same as with the microphone before, not only am I moving my finger down slowly, but I'm moving it in, so it's doing the boggle-eyed bit, so it's 3, 2, and the timing of the 3 to 1 is timed so that on the count of 1, your finger's down here. Now, if you've got to follow that fingertip at all times, by the time you get down here to nearly the chest, they've got to pull the head down, and it gets to a point where their eyes are pretty much 99% closed. So then you just say, eyes remain tightly closed at all times, and they feel, well, yeah, they bloody are closed. So they come to believe again that you've hypnotised them. And that's called the finger stare induction. Okay, one of my mentor and tutor who vehemently doesn't believe for 1 minute that I've got it right when I say hypnosis is a con. He believes it's real, but I told him I'll bugger off because at the end of the day it works for me. Delabat, whose book is on, whose books, not book, books, are both on the one of the CD-ROMs that I'll be giving you. use a thing called the swaying hand clamp. Now this is great, it's a great induction for shocking them. Just stand up, Chris, in front of the chair, that's brilliant. Feet together, you say, feet together, hands by side. It works, it scares the shit out of them, so those that are nervous, it's a good one for getting them, they've got the sweaty palms, because they've got that instant release. But despite what Delavar says, it doesn't put them in a trance, it just gives them that secret. So you say hands by your side, you say close your eyes, take a nice deep breath, in through your nose, and then out through your mouth. In through your nose, and then out through your mouth. I'm going to count from 3 to 1, it's always 3 to 1, going backwards, psychobabble, the deeper you go, the better you'll feel. And the better you feel, the deeper you go. On the count of 1, your eyes will remain tightly closed at all times, and you'll just fall gently backwards into your chair, okay? You'll allow yourself to fall into the chair so you don't hurt yourself. 3, the deeper you go, the better you feel. 2, eyes remaining tightly closed at all times. No one just sleep, deeper, deeper, sleep. And then you can quickly follow it up with that going down. Right, now the thing with that is, stand up, Chris, I'm going to deafen you an all before tonight, so. The swaying's self-explanatory, you probably sussed that one. It's nothing more than the pivot point and getting the point of balance where they drop. As they breathe in, you're pushing them back to the point they're over the balance point. As they breathe out, you bring them back so they're on the feet. Okay, so it's in and out. And you say that on the count of 1 when I say sleep. You don't say when I clap my hands, you say when I say sleep. When you follow it with, you'll keep your eyes tightly closed. So when you get to that point of 1, and you've got them, because they're breathing in, you time it so it's as they're breathing in. So they're breathing, they've got the lungs full, and they're over the point of balance, and you suddenly take your hands away, they're going to drop anyway, and to make sure you're clapping the direction you want them to fall by their ear, so they follow the sound. And then you can use your good old buddy, the finger, to push the head down so it looks like they're in the so-called hypnotic state. Just included that because you'll see that in Delavar's book that you'll be taking away with you. Personally, it's not one I use myself because it's not as reliable as stuff like falling backwards, the eyes glued together, the hands coming down, because they've got far more physical tricks involved in them. Rubber legs induction, I'm just going to cover that very, very briefly, because again, it's not something I've used it twice in my entire career. That's how unreliable it is. You've got to have the right dynamic for it to get away with it. But if you like to stand up, you know what I'm going to do now, don't you? The dynamic for this is it only really works in nightclubs or theatres, places where you've got a proper stage, the proper scenario, so that you've got plenty of room and you can have you've got loads of volunteers. You need loads. In a pub where you end up probably with 5 or 6 people, which just doesn't got the right dynamic. But if you've got a theatre or you're doing a uni and you get like a good dozen volunteers, you can leave about 4 of them here for alternative inductions and line up or scatter around 8 people on the stage. So it's a nice stage filler. It looks showy, it looks show busy, which is obviously part of doing a show. It looks impressive if you're doing a group demonstration. And what you say to them is quite simply, I'll move that chair so that you don't hurt yourself. Oh, I know Chris is going to try and stop himself when it comes to the point of falling so he doesn't hurt himself too much. You say, put your feet together, that's wonderful. Just take your right foot and put it against the side of your left foot like that, crossing them over. Okay, so I've got him to do that. Okay. So put your hands together, so if the hands are already locked together, it's brilliant. You say against your chest, making them top heavy. Turn your head back a bit, close your eyes, that's wonderful. And as you stand there, steady and firm, nice deep breath in, 3 nose and out, 3 mouth. I'm going to count backwards, and each and every person on the stage will find that by the time I say sleep, on the count of 1 when I say sleep, you will find that your legs are like rubber, they are like jelly, getting more and more like jelly and rubber all the time. You will not fall and hurt yourself in a conventional sense because of the way I've placed you. You'll just gently go to your knees into the floor and your eyes will remain tightly closed at all times. The very moment that I tap you and say sleep, you will instantly go. Well, that's all psychobabble after that. You want to kill some time, though, because as you're walking around saying this, they're losing the balance. It's very hard to keep the balance. Sooner or later, one of the people will fall over. I'll put my hand there now. Sooner or later, one of the people will fall over. When they do, everyone else hears the bang. But it's not, I'll explain why they don't hurt themselves in a minute, but they hear the bang, which is a very sudden suggestion. They think somebody's fallen. They're thinking fall, and then they stop thinking for a second about staying stood up, so they end up falling as well, and they go, fly, 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 dropping like flies. And if by the count of 1, when you've been rabbiting on for a while, so a few fall, they haven't gone, you just gently tap on the back of the left leg, so it pushes that knee forward against that knee, and they end up going down to the knees, but he stopped himself, so I'll demonstrate. Just keep nearby me, Chris, so I don't knacker myself up. You can just gently, very gently tap them at the back of the left leg, which pushes that knee naturally forward against that knee, and brings them down onto the knees, and they fall to the side and don't hurt themselves, just as like when you go parachuting. But it looks dead dramatic visually as well. They've gone wallop, but in actual fact they've fallen to the knees, to the side, and they don't hurt themselves. That's the rubber legs induction. The arm spin induction will bring the chair back. You're not going to come tomorrow, are you? Don't be good on me. You won't be chucking people around me. Right, the arm spin induction. Or the reverse body flop, you could almost call this. We'll have to do this sideways on so everybody can see Chris. That's brilliant. Again, if the hands are already locked, that's brilliant. If they're not, it's still okay, because you can just say, put your hands together like that. Put your hands like that, feet on the floor, wonderful. I'm just going to take a gentle hold of your wrist. Now, if the hands were locked, obviously, as you do this induction, you'd say to them that when I say sleep, that very moment, your hands will spring apart. And you'll see why that's so important in a minute, part of it. If they're not locked together, you just say that on the count of 1, and pull your hands apart. So, close your eyes, put your head against your chest, and take a nice deep breath in. And then out. In. And then out. And you do this for obviously a short while, talking psycho-babble and all that, and say that on the count of 1, when I say sleep, that very instant, I'll just pull your hands apart, and your eyes will remain tightly closed at all times. And out. 3, in and out, psycho-babble. And then sleep! Down, deeper, deeper, sleep, deep, deep, eyes remaining tightly closed. Right, aside from shouting at them, which scares the living daylights and shocks them, you've said you pull the hands apart, but you never said anything about pulling them forward. So by gently pulling them forward and then going down with your finger, they end up in the same position as doing the body flop. The lovely thing about this is that if you time that movement, so when they're breathing, you say breathe in, and you put the hands up into the air, and then out, and you keep it in a circle, okay, so it's in and out. You're almost making a circle, it's rhythmic, and that feels relaxing, because it's like, you know, the baby in the car syndrome. And then when you come to doing the sleep bit, you get it when it's at the up, because they've got lungfuls of air, and when you go sleep and pull them forward, it forces all the air out and makes them feel like, what the heck's going on? Something strange, so therefore I must be being hypnotised. And you always follow it up very quickly with eyes remaining tightly closed at all times, and a little gentle pat. You're such a wonderful volunteer. Play to the ego. That's the arm spin induction. Finger stare, we did that, that's good. There for priors. Okay. Again, in the context of people who perhaps haven't been hypnotised before, if you'd like to stand. In fact, we're not just going to use you for this. I want, ideally, to demonstrate it the way it's intended, I need 2 or 3 other people. Now, after all the stuff I've told you about what a set of tricks this is, I don't expect anyone to go in any form of trance, but I want you to feel how much of a shock, how disorientating, how strange this feels to the punter, who does believe it's real, and therefore why they would end up thinking, bloody hell, I must be hypnotised. So 2 or 3 volunteers. Gentlemen here, wonderful. Yeah. Okay. Gentlemen there, and that's brilliant, that's 4. Great stuff. I'll stand you about here, so what I would like you to do is stand there. Brilliant. Safety is paramount. And a little bit further forward there. That's great. Wonderful. A little bit further forward there. Can you're hearing me okay, Frank, yeah, with this mic? Okay, that's great, okay. And you just about a little bit further forward, Frank. Keeping safety at an optimum. this is what it will look like. You'll probably by now guess what the hell's going on when I do it, but I'll explain after. Each and every one of you, I want you to stare at the chandelier, at the lights, okay? Each and every one of you on the stage. And you could have a row of 12 people when you did this. That's why it's called the World Record High Speed Hypnosis Induction. Peter Powers, a guy who had a series called the Naughty Naughty Hypno Show, actually hypnotised 40 people in 60 seconds using this technique, all at the front of the stage at the Glasgow Pavilion, and just went across them, sleep, 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 sleep. The timing, Lord, which is the key thing, the timing of that 60 seconds didn't start from the moment, until the moment he touched the first person on the head. Okay, so really the induction's going on before then. But the audience perceive it as the moment you're saying sleep. So everybody staring at the white bright light, okay, that's wonderful. This is what I'm actually going to use music for, just purely and simply to give you an impression of how it would feel. So as you keep staring at the light, which at this point normally would just be complete and utter psychobabble about how, when I count from 3 to 1, on the count of 1 I'm going to tap you on the forehead. The very moment I tap you on the forehead, that very moment, that very instant, your eyes are closed, they remain closed at all times, and I'll just lay you gently on the ground as each and every one of you stares at the white, bright light. And remember, on stage, this will be 150 watt, 500 watt, maybe 1000 watt spotlights that practically blind you. As each and every one of you now, staring at the white, bright light as the music starts. You're staring at that light at all times, remembering that the very moment I tap you on the forehead, that very moment, that very instant, that very second, you'll just fall backwards into my arms, your eyes will close, and they'll remain closed at all times unless I say otherwise. The very moment that I tap you on the head, you can see that light moving towards you, and then out away from you. You can see that light moving in towards you, and then out away from you. You take a nice deep breath in through your nose, and then out through your mouth. Nice deep breath in through your nose, and then out through your mouth. Remembering the very moment I touch you on the forehead, your eyes will close, your eyes will remain closed, and you will fall gently backwards into my arms. Nice deep breath in, and nice deep breath in. Deeper and deeper. Talking to everybody on the stage. When I say wide awake, you'll be able to stand up. You will not have a sore back, and you will not try to soothe any of this. Wakey, wakey, rise and shine, everybody.
What's your head?
Give these guys a round of applause for being brave enough to come over. Right, I'm hoping by now you're starting to twig on what was going on there. We covered about the lights earlier. Now, on stage, they will be 150 watt up to maybe 1,500 watt spotlights. Or maybe even a front of house fuller spot, which is so bright it's literally going to blind you the moment you look at it. The more brighter it is in their eyes, the more effective this works as disorientation and shock. Number 2, you've got them stood with the feet together, so when you do come to pull them, you've got your pivot point there, okay? Number 3 is you've told them what's going to happen. On the count of 1, I'm going to tap you on the head and basically lay you on the floor, and your eyes will remain closed. Now that's what they expect to happen. And this is the key to this one. Stand up, Chris. I won't put you on the floor this time, but this is the key to this one. They're expecting me to come along, and it's really hyped up music on purpose. It wouldn't work with slow music. It's got to be fast, it's got to be exciting, it's got to be what the hell's going on, when it's going to happen, when am I going to get touched, looking at the light, it's blinding me, what the heck's going on? To really hype them up, so that then they get that moment of release when you do let them go, okay? They're expecting me to come up and touch them on the head and say, sleep. Not to come along and put my hand over their eyes and pull them back. Now this is important, because the way I do it is I walk up. My hand doesn't go in front of the face, because they'd see it coming. Then they would expect that the hand's coming over, he's not doing what he said. I come from behind, over the head, down and sleep. So it's literally, we've gone from 1,500 watts of bright white light blinding them to total darkness, and they feel themselves falling to the floor. Can you imagine how scary that is? and sleep, and they're on the floor, and then you can literally just go along, sleep, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, right across the stage. And if you do it like Peter Powers did, 40 people lined up, 2 or 3 of them will stand up and end up going back to the audience. But what do we do then? We just say, obviously, they didn't have the correct powers of mind, make them look down so that everybody else becomes more cooperative. You see how it all starts gelling together? And that's what is referred to as the world record hypnosis induction in the course. Okay. Pardon? Yeah, well, whatever turns you on, Mum. Yeah, you could do. Certainly Dan probably would, after our pickpocket here who was stealing watches last night and giving them back to people. Right, spotlight eye strain. Essentially, we've already covered that type of induction, because it is just about knacking their eyes up enough, looking at the lights. So as you say, your eyelids are getting so heavy and so tired, they come to believe that the reason that's happening is because you've been suggested. And that's it in a nutshell. I don't think I really need to tell you any more about that. A nice little add-on to that is Delabar's blink method to speed things up. While they're staring at the white light, which is going to be, with spotlights, it's going to be straining their eyes big style, so it's a lot easier for them to close their eyes, and once they do, they think it's because you've suggested it, so they come to believe they're hypnotised. You can also say to them, look, I want you to start blinking, so when I count 1, close your eyes. On 2, open your eyes. 3, close it, and so on. So as you count numbers, you say I'm going to count, from 1 to 20, or 20 to 1, which is better going down. You get an opening, shutting, and they've got that light to dark, which is a very, if you like, lower level version of getting walked up behind and it's suddenly going dark. And because it's that sudden change from light to dark, it strains the eyes even more. So as you're saying in your pattern, you may notice now the little muscles in your eyes are getting so heavy, so tight. Some of you will find right now it's so much easier just to let your eyes remain closed on the count of when they're all due to close their eyes again. So you've got the suggestion there, and you're also, if you like, giving them permission that it's okay now to keep their eyes closed. But the moment they do keep them closed, they come to believe it's happened because you've hypnotised them. Okay, and that's just, the add-on to speed up what is nothing more really than a progressive relaxation induction, which I'm sure everybody in this room is familiar with. Okay? So I don't think I'll waste time going into that kind of induction. Right, all those inductions I've covered so far, believe me, you'll never need that many inductions if you ever do group seminars, if you do group hypnosis, stop smoking, weight loss, all that kind of stuff, or even if you do stage shows, you're never going to need that many different types of inductions. To be honest, most hypnotists just come on, do flipping locked hands, falling back, and a bit of knackering their eyes up with the lights, and that's about it. But there again, they've got serious bottle because they've built up their experience over the years. Initially, I used to go on stage, do all this ring on chin stuff, the silk, the milk, the stop, the tops. Then I'd get everyone in the audience to do the finger following the thumb. Then I'd do the light and heavy hands, then I'd do the locked hands, then I'd get them up for the induction. I just realised in the end, well, I was just doing it to delude myself that I needed to do that to get them tricked enough to be cooperative. But, that's something you only learn through experience. But initially, you can do it that way to get your confidence. The audience, quite frankly, won't be any the wiser. They'll just think that's the way it should have all been done. That's the key thing as a hypnotist. You know what you're doing. You know you're doing these tricks. You're doing all this, that, the other. If one of them stands up, for example, worst case scenario, and says, he just tried pushing my head down with his thumb. So what? I caught your neck by accident when I said sleep. That's the way the audience will perceive it. So what? Because the audience don't realise what effect just a gentle push can have on keeping the people compliant. So you're always in control, not only because you know all the tricks, but because the audience don't. It's not just that the people on the stage don't know the tricks, and that's what's making them become compliant, but the audience don't know them either. So if something goes wrong, they don't know it's gone wrong unless you tell them. Which is what a lot of starting people starting out make the mistake, something goes wrong and they go, oh, well that shouldn't have happened, so we'll try something different with you. No! If you do a fall back on somebody, okay, and they stand up a few seconds later as though they've come out of it, it's walk past them like nothing's happened, do an induction on somebody else and go back to them and say, that's brilliant, mate, you're a great subject. I think it would actually be better if we stuck you in the chair now and go straight into a finger stare induction or something. Now the audience will just perceive that you totally expected that to happen. They won't think anything cocked up. There's only you in your own mind saying to yourself something's gone wrong. And that's the biggest adage by far. Anyone that ends up doing stage hypnosis or group sessions where you're going to do a mass stop smoking thing or weight loss or whatever, but at the start of it as the convincers, so to speak, you might do a few stagey type inductions on people and have them doing one or two funny things like can't count, say I think they're number 7. Nothing controversial, we keep in with the therapist side, But the biggest problem that will be in your head is that this is nothing but a set of contricks. This won't work. And that is the mental hurdle that you've got to get over. And that is something that, quite frankly, I was going to say, well, today I can't. Today, because the way time's running, I'm not going to be able to today let you leave this building and have that missing link in your mind. By the end of tomorrow, you will have that missing link because you'll have the fail-safe plan, which is where we mention like hypno-tricks, stuff that's guaranteed to work, that looks like you're doing hypnotic feats, but it's actually trickery, which you can use in therapy, corporate world. We're covering them tomorrow, but in the worst case scenario, in a group session or a stage show, if it all went wrong, okay, the audience still wouldn't know it had gone wrong, unless you said, oh, it's gone wrong, got to finish. If you actually went straight into doing some hypno-tricks, like laying them across chairs, lifting them in the air, levitation, a thing where they feel they've been psychically touched whilst in trance and stuff like that, which we're covering tomorrow, the audience will go away and say, I saw what I went to see, because they wouldn't know that there'd been a cock-up along the way. It just, you yourself as the person doing it, get that in your mind and think, bloody hell, bloody hell. And that's what I was saying before about having to die on your arse and things going wrong. It's only through them going wrong and through experience, getting the resilience and the bottle to carry on as if nothing's happened, that you can really totally, take that bit on board. Now those inductions were all meant for people who've never, if you like, been hypnotised before. You know when you ask, has anyone been hypnotised before at the start of the show? They're all ideal for the people that haven't been hypnotised before. There's now 3, which just illustrate a point I made earlier, inductions for people who, when you say, have you been hypnotised before? They go, yeah. And you say, would you volunteer tonight? And we assume they do. And you say to them, okay, was it, look at the wording here, set up. When I start doing the wording is very important. Because people who have been hypnotised before know how to react. So the next thing you would ask them was it on stage or was it in a clinic? Okay? So you find out. If it was on stage, the likelihood is they got knocked back or out in the chair. If it was therapy, it's likely they had a progressive relaxation. But either way, whatever the response, then they come to believe that's what you expected them to say. Say, which means that you know that when you're hypnotised, and the hypnotist says sleep, your eyes close, your heavy head falls forward onto your chest, and you start breathing deeply and regularly and entering a lovely relaxed state. You know that already, don't you? You felt it before. Yes, the moment they say yes, you're 90% of the way to having them in trance. The next thing is, when you were hypnotised before, was it a professional hypnotist like myself? Now when they say yes, what they're really saying to themselves is that you're just as powerful, good and skillful as a hypnotist as the person who hypnotised them before, which means that they're convincing themselves that if they say yes, you can hypnotise me, they'll go as quick as that. So when you follow that up with the question, so, is it okay, can I have your permission here and now tonight as you know how to react when you're hypnotised, which is as good as acted as a reminder of how they should act, okay? You then can just turn around and say to them, do I have your permission to use a really fast form of hypnosis to get you back in that lovely state where, reminder again, your eyes close, your head falls forward, head against your chest. And the moment they say yes, quite frankly, you could just hit them with a stick of celery and say sleep and they go. Because what they've essentially said to you is, yes, I've been hypnotised before, so I believe in it. yes, I believe you're as good as the person who hypnotised me before, so therefore you're capable of doing it to me. And yes, I give you permission to do that, and I know how to react. So they're essentially saying, yes, I will react and cooperate. But to make it look good to the audience, because if it looks too amazing, they go away saying, must have been stupid, not possible. So, you know, you can do the classic, which this gets demonstrated at so many hypnotherapy courses. Everyone misses the point. They go, your boy is bloody amazing. Take a seat. He just goes up, handshake inductions, and then they're out. They miss the point that it's an audience full of NLPers who just paid a load of money for the course, so therefore they're going to do what Gil says. Try and do it in the real world on someone who's never been hypnotised before, and it won't work. If they've been hypnotised before, and they agree that you're as professional as the person who hypnotised them, and they accept the fact they know how to react, they're effectively saying, yes, I'll close my eyes when you say sleep to me, and I'll react like you want me to, I'll be cooperative. That's essentially what's going on. So then you say, nice to meet you, so you've been hypnotised before, was it a professional hypnotist like myself? Blah, 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 you know how to react, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I then get my hand in position here on his shoulder. So I say, okay, in that case, nice deep breath in, and sleep! Deeper, 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 eyes remaining closed. Which essentially looks like when you see it done by Gil Boy. But the reason for the hand here, you probably guessed, is I can push his head gently forward when I come to the handshake. The reason for the breathing in is nice deep breath in, is as I come down, the hand comes in against the front of the chest, to knock the air out of his lungs, and I pull forward at the same time. So everything's happening at once, we get to a sudden loss of air and pulling forward, and it's another shock disorientation thing, combined with the fact that they've already said they'll cooperate. On the same tangent, again for those people who definitely said they've been hypnotised before, using the same wording which is all down in the text and on the videos about, was it a professional like myself, you've been hypnotised before, you know how to react, can we do a really fast induction? In other words, will you cooperate? You can say to them, okay, just look at the tip of my fingers, take a nice deep breath in, keep staring at the tip of my fingers, nice deep breath in, out, and sleep! Well, obviously Chris is playing along. Now, the two things with this, number one, the fingers, I mean, it's irrelevant, because if you say sleep to them, however you say it, once they've agreed they're going to cooperate, they're going to cooperate. It's as simple as that. But presentational-wise, and just to add an extra element of it feeling strange to them again, we get them to stare at the fingertips, so as they go up, it's straining the eyes. As we're coming down, we're doing that similar thing that's making the eyelids go down anyway. And just at the end, as I said, sleep, I'm moving my hand into it. It looks like I'm going to smack him in the face. Now, if that was happening to you, what would you do? Close your eyes. Okay, and then suddenly I move to the side dead fast, so it becomes sleep, and that causes a draft against his face, which feels weird physiologically, and that's all happening at once at the same time as gently being touched there. So all in one is kind of, look at my fingertips, nice deep breath in, out, and keep looking at my fingertips, and sleep! So you're also just adding that extra bit of disorientation to it. It's not necessary because they've already said they'll cooperate and go. But by making them feel that little bit of strange feeling at the time, disorientation, it stops them being disappointed, if you like. Because if they just complied and it didn't feel strange and mystical again, then they'd be disappointed. So you're living up to the illusion they want. And the same goes for the last induction on this list, which is the can't be bothered with you induction. Which, if they said they've been hypnotised before, it's quite as simple and blatant, but I mean, you'll guess this, as you've got them stood in front of the chairs, but you've already clocked in advance who are the ones who've been hypnotised before. You've already asked them, was it professional hypnotist like myself? You've already asked them, can we do a fast form of hypnosis tonight? And then you might do an induction over here, and then as you're walking past, say, oh, just sleep, can't be bothered with you, and chuck them in the chair. Because they've already agreed earlier on that they'll cooperate when you say sleep. They're stood in front of the chair, so they will fall back into the chair. They've already agreed they'll keep their eyes closed and they know how to react. But then you've left that time delay, from the audience point of view, doing some other people. So when you go back and suddenly go, sleep, can't be bothered with you, the audience think, my God, do you see the speed of him getting that? They forget you even asked them all those questions earlier on. And they just go away and tell people, he just walked up to people and chucked them on the floor. But you've already done your conditioning in advance and your check-up in advance, so it's another scam, but it's also making it more entertaining and dramatic for the audience that are watching. I think you're finally safe to go and sit back over there, my mate. Give Chris a round of applause. I'm partial here, my throat is very dry indeed. Which leads me to the final bit on induction, stage-wise. We'll cover 1 or 2 therapy inductions tomorrow. Well, therapy-wise, as I say, I use the guaranteed hand clasp above the head and then pulling it down in front of the face. And then basically boring them for a good 10 minutes to the point where they go to sleep. But I'll cover that in more depth tomorrow. I guarantee if you do it the way I show you, everyone will, well, if they snore, which most people do, will end up snoring in your chair and you can go and do what you want for half an hour. But on those kind of principles from those inductions, you can create your own inductions. Make yourself look different from all the other hypnotists. Just keep in mind that, you know, the more gentle you do stuff, the more effect it actually has. And that somebody who is nervous will go under quicker with a shock induction because they want that moment of release sooner. Whereas the people who are more relaxed already kind of want the slower induction. Which, I mean, we covered all that before. So now, you've come on stage, you've done all your pattern, which we talked about, okay? That's better. And you've done your suggestibility test, whichever you decided to do. You've got your people up, you've done your inductions, whatever you decided to do. Your deepness, okay. You've got, as we said before, they're either cooperative or not cooperative, but an audience perception is that, oh, deep and trans, they've seen it on TV, it's what they expect, so you've got to go with that. If you're doing something like the world record job, sleep, 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 and you've got a stage full of people across the stage, then obviously you'd use something like the staircase. The standard 10 down to 1, you're going down the staircase of relaxation. So you'd say, I'm talking to everybody on the stage, I'm going to count down from 10, down to 1, by the count of 1 your eyes will remain closed all evening and you'll go deeper with every breath that you take. And all the psychobabble phrases you want to come out with. If you've just done, a few drop backs, but you're going to do a different type of induction on other people, then you might just want to say, I'm going to lift your hand up in a moment, and when I drop it down by your side, you'll go 100 times deeper. And you can guarantee you'll drop down because you use your finger flick that we covered earlier on. That's as much as you need to know about deepness in a stage context. It's as simple as that. Standard phrases, and you'll probably recognise some of these. Practically the only phrases I ever use in inductions for stage or therapy, repeated again and again and again, to the point where they get, in therapy, they get so bored after 10 minutes they do go to sleep. Or have brain overload, one of the two. The deeper you go, the better you feel, and the better you feel, the deeper you go. Now, I don't actually believe suggestions have much effect other than if they're planted as seeds, and they have to grasp the mind around the idea so it grows. So with this is what I call loop suggestions, because as it ends, it starts. So you've got the deeper you go, the better you feel. So you feel better, but as you feel better, you go deeper, which takes you back to as you go deeper, you feel better. So you're setting up a scenario where hopefully they're going to latch onto that idea and it's going to become a loop in the mind, playing like a tape over and over. So that they're distracted from everything else, and if they're distracted and focused on one thing only, then that essentially is so-called hypnosis, because they feel, oh, I'm just doing whatever he says. The classic cliched phrases, stick with the cliches and then people believe it's real. With every breath that you take, every noise that you hear, every word that I say, and every thought that you think, you'll go deeper and deeper. Well, they're either going to be breathing, hear a noise, hear me say something, or think something. At least one of them is going to be happening all the time. So you set up a loop where constantly one of those things is happening, okay? And then you can link it directly in. We'll come to the linking bit in a minute. The lovely other cliched one, because they always hear this crap on TV about your muscle groups relaxing and all that crap, is every muscle in your body from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers, so limp, so loose, so relaxed, so heavy, and so tired. And you notice how I do it in that really crappy, naff, stereotypical voice, is deep, because that's what they expect, so it will work better. In case a fire engine comes past your office, instead of them opening their eyes and becoming non-cooperative, we cover that by no noises will distract you whatsoever. In fact, any noises merely act as a sign and a signal for you to go 100 times deeper with each second that passes by. A lot of techs say each minute. Well, I figure there's more seconds in a minute than there is minutes in the hour of your session, so it's acting as more of a suggestion, okay? Point 1. Point 2, no noises whatsoever, because you haven't a clue what may or may not occur, because a fire engine may go past unexpectedly. And when they do occur, whatever they are, instead of them thinking about it, you've already said they'll just act as a sign and a signal to go deeper. So you've covered anything that could possibly bugger up the session before it happens. I've heard of people that have been doing a session, fire engine's gone past, and they said, I had to start from scratch, put him back into trance. Right, and to be honest, I will be, you know, when I started doing hypnotherapy when I was 14, lying about my age, saying I was 18 and treating people, that happened to me, and I used to think, oh, I'm going to start from scratch, and I did start from scratch. And then I clocked it, hang on a minute, on stage, I'd tell people, no noises will distract you, well, do the same thing. Sure enough, fire engine went past, no difference, if anything. They cooperated, reacted as if they were going deeper. And then you just link those standard phrases together, because they're pretty much the only phrases I ever use. Except saying that I'm counting from 3 to 1, on the count of 1, such and such will happen. Or I'm counting from 10 to 1, and on 1, such and such will happen. And you just link them together, so for just as a brief example, linking them together, into a short kind of therapy style induction could end up becoming something like as you lay there in that comfortable chair. You don't know if you want to go into trance now or in a few moments time, but go into trance you will all the same, because as you take each breath in through your nose and then out through your mouth, you find that the deeper you go, the better you'll feel. And the better you feel, the deeper you go with each and every breath that you take. Every noise that you hear, every word that I say, and every thought that you think, you find you go deeper and deeper as each and every muscle in your body, from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers, becomes so limp, so relaxed, so heavy, and so tired as you realise now in your mind's eye that no noises will distract you whatsoever. In fact, any noises, whatever they may be, merely serve as a sign and a signal for you to go 100 times deeper. And as you go deeper, the better you'll feel, and the better you feel. And you can go back into the loop and just bore them shitless for 10 minutes. If they're not asleep, snoring their head off at the end of that, then basically take up tiddlywinks. But there's a few more tricks for therapy inductions, but we're covering them tomorrow, okay? Tomorrow morning. They're practically the only phrases I ever use on stage or in therapy for getting people under. Simple as that. Bugger all your big scripts. You don't need a big script. You just do that once they're out. Staircase, we can all remember that without a script. And then whatever's relevant to the particular thing that you're doing. Or if they do start snoring, just don't bother. Wake them up at the end of the session and give them the tape. Simple as that. Right. Awakening, which is the final stage of the show, which you saw me do earlier. Essentially, all you need to say to them is open your eyes, go back to the audience. All this bullshit about stuff will be left in the mind and they'll react to it after, as I said earlier, is precisely that. There's some coffee dodgers out there, there's some flipping, what they call wagon jumpers, there's nutters out there that want to make money. And hypnotists are an easy target purely and simply because people don't understand it's all a big con game. Which is just as well, because if the public at large knew it was a big con game, we wouldn't get the work and the money. Unfortunately, it does cause the problem of the people claiming, cause me problems. So, your key points as defined by the 1952 Hypnotism Act, which will be totally ripping apart in a few moments' time as the final point of today. And then, believe me, when you walk out of this room, you'll know more than most stage hypnotists working today actually know about stage hypnosis, which is quite scary, really. Awakening. Everything should be completely cancelled out in every way, okay? And you should make them feel better, or at least the same as they did before. So my awakening, quite simply, is going upwards, like we said, tone of voice going upwards, numbers going upwards, so it's from 1 to 10. And the music I use on stage, or even if it's in therapy, just half the time you just shake them away. But on stage I use, simply the reason for that is because that's also your end of your show where you're getting everyone back to the audience. So then it's, ladies and gentlemen, these people have been your show, give them a huge round of applause, and it's really good playoff music to then take your call to. Thank you, good night, and all that. Because you've got the show side of it to consider as well. I mean, that's important as well in group seminars. If you're doing group smoking sessions and stuff, it's still important to have intro music and outro music, because when they come to a group seminar for weight or whatever, although they know you're a hypnotherapist and that's what you've been advertised at, because they're going in a group, it's got the dynamic of being a stage show. So they kind of expect to see those show busy things. Music intro, very much Anthony Robbins motivational stuff, high pump. Please welcome your guide into the hypnotic world this evening. Whatever you do, and on your come you do all your motivational crap, showing them the diagrams we're on about how the mind works before you go into your actual session, okay? So just to give you an example, a simple awakening could be, I'm talking to each and every person on the stage, I'm going to count from 1 to 10, on the count of 10 each and every one of you. Then and only then, notice how I say that, then and only then you'll open your eyes and you'll be your normal self in every way. As of one, everything I've said to you is completely cancelled out in every way. It's almost as though your mind's a great computer and all the floppy disk are being wiped clean of everything that's happening in this building this evening. As on two, lighter and brighter, almost as though every muscle in your body, from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers, is being washed with pure, invigorating, energising spring water. 3, 4, 5, lighter and brighter with each second that passes by. 6, feeling so good, so happy, all the stresses, tensions, worries, fears and apprehensions of days and weeks gone by, leaving your mind and leaving your body now. As on 8 and 9, lighter and brighter, and on 10, wake you up in your eyes, rise and shine, ladies and gentlemen, give these people a huge round of applause because they have been your show this evening. You send them back, take your applause, keep it going for them, so then at the end you can just go, thank you, good night, off, pick your money up and bugger off home. I know. Essentially, and I want you to see this, we're going to refer back to where we were right at the start of today, okay, to see how far forward you've come. Stage hypnosis. Stage steps. Obviously advertising. Now regards advertising, getting shows, we're going to cover that tomorrow, just briefly when we're doing the marketing for the therapy, which is the main area tomorrow, therapy. I wanted to get most of the stage stuff out of the way. Although the hypno-tricks are going over into the therapy stuff because, if anything, they're even more effective in a therapeutic framework for group sessions than they are for stage shows. They're only an emergency backup for stage shows, so that's why I put them in the therapy day. So step 1, gaining rapport with the audience, patter jokes, warnings. We covered that right at the beginning. What you say, IIC syndrome. Don't come up if you've got medical conditions. I need people who are cooperative, open mind, okay? As simple as that, you're setting things up. Suggestibility test. We covered all them before. You then get your people to the stage, and we're going to cover before we end what happens when nobody comes to the stage. Your inductions. Then you deepen it. I think that was explained enough. Ego strengthening. Basically, you're a wonderful hypnotic subject and directing all the applause to them. That's that step out of the way. Actual therapy, well, that's based on the structure for the therapy, but on stage, that's your routines, whatever they may be, which are just limited by your own imagination. And quite frankly, you can nick all the routines off the tapes I'll be giving you. I don't care less. Major post-hypnotic suggestion on stage, that is essentially awakening them from the trance. It's the same thing. But if you'd like to say there is a major post-hypnotic suggestion, yes it is, they'll feel better. And in this day and age now, with the laws as they are with stage hypnosis, it sounds like a joke to the audience. But if the people genuinely believe they've been hypnotised, okay, to the point where they genuinely believe it, they've fallen for the tricks big time. So they've deluded themselves, they go on a lie detector and they pass it thinking they were in some form of trance. Then they will accept your suggestions, whatever they may be. So given that all the problems are being caused by things like accident direct, claims direct and all that, okay, the no win, no pay, you tell everybody it's your major post-hypnotic suggestion and it sounds like a joke to the audience. But none of you on the stage this evening will ever think of contacting any company like accident direct, claims direct. In fact, they no longer exist. You'll remember to forget and forget to remember everything about tonight. Now, if they can't remember what the hell's happened, and if they believe to that level, okay, that they would have a realistic chance of trying to convince a court that you've done something wrong, if they believe to that level, then they're going to take on board the suggestion. And if they can't remember what went on properly, they're jigging defending themselves in court. Step one. Step two, if they take the suggestion on board, they're not even going to do it in the first place. The audience just see it as a joke. Sounds funny, because people have seen the stuff in the press. But if the people are, you know, the nutters, you're still going to get the odd nutter who just come there and going to be totally cooperative and then try something on. But we'll cover how to get round that one in a minute. And then awaken from trance, which we've just covered. Then pick up your money in the end, which comes down to marketing and making sure you're getting paid cash on the night so you don't have to wait weeks for a check from an agent. And we'll cover that tomorrow. So essentially, believe it or not, you know everything there is, with the exception of one phrase that I haven't mentioned to you, and that is, if you are a little bit unsure as to how a cooperative, they're obviously cooperative once you've gone to the induction bit, but if you're not that sure how cooperative they're going to be with a certain routine, just tap them on the shoulder and say, I'm talking to you, give them a suggestion for the routine, and then say, nod your head if you understand. Essentially what you're saying is, are you going to do what I've told you to do when I get you to open your eyes in a minute? And essentially that is all there is to know about doing a stage hypnosis show. As simple as that. Except obviously getting work. We covered them before. Self-confidence we covered. In fact, we need to get back to where we were. To a bad subject. Done that. Lovely. Ability, inductions, standard phrases. So you can make up what you're saying. Everything cancelled out. Briefly, just on levels of trance, as I said before. Again, stage or therapy-wise, any context. There's only 2 levels of trance. Well, 2 levels of compliance, should we say, because I don't believe in trance, and that's cooperative or uncooperative. You get all your flipping medical textbooks and all that saying there's the waking state, the hypnodial state, where you can get people doing things like locking their hands together. I've just shown you, you can lock the hands and eyelids together, it's a trick. If you do it right, it's a trick. The light state, lethargic, where apparently you're supposed to feel a bit sleepy like that at the end of the day of work. Lovely, so the last thing you're going to want to do is jump around on stage doing something, if that was the case. Bollocks! Medium state, cataleptic, where you're supposed to be able to, you know, do arm catalepsy. Or lay people across the back of 2 chairs and stand on them. Crook of shit! I'm going to be showing you how to do catalepsy in the morning for your group sessions as the best convincing you'll ever do. There's no hypnosis in it whatsoever. It's just a cantilever bridge affair where the ankles hang down at one end, the head at the other, it pushes the body up in an arch, and the weight of your body stood on them distributes down and down the back of the chairs. It's really dead simple. I'll do it tomorrow and somebody can stand on me. It's nothing to do with hypnosis, so that's crap as well. Deep state. Somnambulistic, as they say. Oh yes, 1 in 10 of the people in the population is a somnambulist, a sleeper, and will go and won't wake up. Thank you, good, I knew there was a memory jogger on here somewhere. What to do if people don't wake up? Sleepers. Good. Quite frankly, that's what we call them, sleepers. They're just the people I said about before on the stage context that want to be the centre of attention, but are using a different way of getting that attention. It's a load of bollocks. Next step, if you read stuff like Dave Ellman, is just so long as you keep swimming in your mind's eye and then a million and one different deepness and all that, at the end of the day all he's doing is getting to fixate on one thought to the exclusion of everything else. Grasp the mind around one idea, the seed, let it grow so it becomes the tree. But he then goes on about taking them down to comatose, say. Well, no, bollocks. Just get them snoring. No good on stage, because we're not going to do now, but in therapy, just get to the point where they're snoring, because then when they wake up, they'll believe they've been in trance big style, so it's more likely to work. Post-hypnotic, that means, basically, that when you tell them to open their eyes and do something, that they do it. It's as simple as that. Forget everything you've read. So it comes down to they're either cooperative or non-cooperative. And then you hear things about how do I know whether they're in trance or not, what level they're at, what signs do I look for, facial flushing and breathing rates and all that. Quite frankly, the only reliable signs of if someone is cooperative, okay, as opposed to being in a trance state, and how cooperative they are being, is that if you told them their eyes will remain tightly closed at all times, then sooner or later they will start having REMs, because with their eyes closed it's so much more relaxing to keep your eyeballs up there. But then with the spotlights on stage, the effect it has, because you can still sense the light, they start flickering because they think, oh, I wish you'd get that bloody 1,500 watt spotlight off my face. So rapid eye movements in a sense aren't really an indicator of any form of trance, it's just that they're cooperative. The arm drop, again, it's only showing if they're cooperative, but it doesn't matter if you feel that they're not going to drop their arm, because you just flick it with your finger. And breathing, well, if you've told them to breathe deeply and regularly in through the nose and then out through the mouth, it's quite clearly obvious as you're watching them whether they're doing that or not. If they're doing it, then they're cooperative. If they're not, they're non-cooperative. And quite frankly, that's all you need to know about levels of trance. Forget everything else you've learned. Right, hypno-laws and loopholes. To end today, before I then give everybody directions to the flying halls to come and pick your stuff up, because as I said, tomorrow it's marketing, it's therapy, it's TFT, it's numerous one thing, try again, million and one things, is that if you're going to do stage hypnosis in England, okay, you're governed by the 1952 Stage Hypnosis Act. So essentially speaking, everything I've taught you today, which will work, there's nothing else to know. You now know more than most stage hypnotists in England. And just ask the people who are already stage hypnotists, especially to Prince, Chris and that. And I'll tell you straight, because Chris has been earning his living for the past 15, 16 years using exactly these tricks. Probably pissed off I'm telling everybody because I've used them before. But it's no good if you can't get work. We cover marketing tomorrow, but the biggest problem at the moment is insurance and the laws. There is no insurance for British stage hypnotists available anywhere. There is a company selling you a worthless piece of paper in somewhere in the bloody Bible, abroad anyway, that says it covers you in England. If anyone ever made a claim, their off-the-shelf company would fold. It's no good. It's not worth having. There is no insurance for stage hypnotists, even if you're in equity. Or at least that's what equity tell you. Now some of you here today are in equity, and what I'm going to say is very controversial. And I hope that I'm the first person who does get took to court by some wanker wanting to be claiming some cash off me, so I can get loads of publicity and even more publicity when I win the court case by defending myself, which is what I would do. The 1952 Hypnotism Act, all these laws you get copies of on the CD-ROMs, was basically founded by the British Medical Association. Now people will tell you it was when a guy called Ralph Slater did a show in England and somebody claimed to have headaches afterwards and depression. Then they'll tell you that Peter Casson said he'd set up a thing called the Federation of Ethical Stage Hypnotists because he didn't want people like Ralph coming onto his patch stealing his work, so between them they go, it's all bollocks. The truth of the matter is, and this isn't conspiracy theory. If you look in Delabar's book, which you get, there's actual letters and documents that I'm not supposed to have, which Delabar's not really supposed to have, from government sources, proving this is conspiracy fact, not fiction. It was founded by the British Medical Association, the 1952 Hypnotism Act. Going back to that, Peter Casson was remarkably successful as a stage hypnotist, okay? He was filling venues twice the size of what Gracie Fields was filling at the same time. He was the biggest box office attraction in England at one time. I mean, forget what Paul McKenna's done with hypnosis. Casson did it 20 times bigger in his era. And also he got highly successful selling his self-help tapes and all that stuff, and people coming to him, and there were less and less people going to the doctors because they'd heard all the press stories and media stuff about Peter's wonderful success treating people after his shows. Less and less people going to the doctors equals less and less drugs being supplied to people, okay? Less and less drugs being supplied is less drugs being bought by the government from drug companies, which means the government itself doesn't actually get its backhander from the drug companies. Okay, Now, you told you it sounds like conspiracy theory, but it's conspiracy fact. That is why they founded the 1952 Hypnotism Act. Needless to say, every hypnotherapy stage hypnotist in England was in uproar, and basically, publicly, the public went mad as well, because they're all like, Peter Castle's wonderful, he's really helped my life, and really, there was no feasible way they could at that moment in time ban it completely, which is what they wanted to do. Therapy and stage. Not just stage, that act was intended to ban hypnotherapists. But they knew they couldn't ban hypnotherapists without banning the stage, so they put the focus onto the stage, okay? This is all historical fact, you can check it out. So that made the 1952 Hypnotism Act, which was meant to make it as difficult as possible for people to perform as a stage hypnotist, in the hope that then they wouldn't be performing, so people wouldn't think of going to a hypnotherapist, so it would kill that off. Now, as a lot of you in here will testify, you know, the British hypnotherapy industry ain't like that now in England. It's not that busy. America it is. It's got that hysteria now, as I'm sure the Prince would testify. But in England, it's like what it's like in America now, the self-help market. That is what it was like when Peter Castle was doing shows in the 40s and 50s. So you've got to understand, put that in perspective, and then you see why this is what really was going on. So they couldn't ban it completely, so they made the 1952 Act, okay, which made it very, very difficult, apparently. Then one or two people, and it was actually Peter Casson combined with Delabar, ex-president of the British Council of Professional Stage Hypnotists, who then set about looking at what could be done, writing to councils. They had a big fallout, because originally there was a society for so-called stage hypnotists called not Guild, it was either Guild or Society of Ethical Stage Hypnotists, anyway, okay? And Peter Casson fell out with Delabar, so he branched off and started a group called practically the same, FESH, the Federation of Ethical Stage Hypnotists, saying you must abide by the 1952 Hypnotism Act, and he campaigned and he got councils to agree, yeah, we will let people know to book stage hypnotists, it's okay as long as they abide by the Act. Whereas Delabar basically told the councils the 1952 Hypnotism Act was a farce, which didn't really get clarified properly until he got took to court and won his, well, he got thrown out of court before it even went to trial many years ago. Then he had a gentleman called David Tabb more recently do a show in Taunton where hypnosis is banned, using the loopholes I'm about to tell you. Again, the council threatened court action. It never got to court, not surprisingly, because he used the loopholes I'm about to tell you. Well, some of the loopholes I'm about to tell you, because I've elaborated on them since. And I've been doing it this way for years, and you know, you get threatening letters off the council. But at the end of the day, they ain't taking you to court because they can't win. They try and scare you. The other problem is they're scaring the venues, so that makes the bookings. That's why it's quieter for stage hypnotists, because they're scaring the venues. So you really need to be booking your own venues, putting your own shows on to get around that. Now, then in 1989, the government realised the 1952 Hypnotism Act really wasn't working as well as they thought it should be in stopping unlost drug sales, okay? And especially then it was also taking off a bit more again. It was having a resurgence, because it goes through being mega popular, going downhill, being mega popular. It goes in cycles. So they brought in the 1989 government guidelines, which are just that, guidelines. They're not law, they're just model conditions, suggestions, if you like, to local licensing authorities on what they should and shouldn't look for when deciding whether to issue a permission to perform. And then we had the wonderful Paul McKenna trial, which I'm sure you all know about, which he won. And of course he won it, because at the end of the day, the guy just wanted a fast book. It was as simple as that. Of course he won it. Then we had a wanker called Phil Damon, who didn't even bother to file a defence to the claim made against him. The only reason, and I didn't tell you this on television the other night, the people who saw the programme, the only reason there is an acting president in British law against a stage hypnotist, namely now a stage hypnotist has been found guilty of negligence, is because Philip Damon, better known as Philip Green, when he got the court documents, he thought it'd be a good idea if he just ignored it, it'd go away. Well, I assume that's what he thought, because he never filed a defence. So you know what that means? If you don't file a defence on time, the other person wins by default, even if you're completely in the right. And that is documented if you go on the internet. There is, sites with the court findings saying, and that is why the judge said at the time that this is a judgment against Phil Damon. It's not a judgment against stage hypnosis. Because the judge had to take into account the fact that the hypnotist just bloody didn't file a defence. And quite frankly, the judge probably knew if he had filed a defence, he too would have won his case like Paul McKennedy. So that tosses the one that's making it all a problem for us in Britain, if you want to know whose head to kick in. Oh, I'm not exciting violence, that's just a joke, of course, for comedy reasons only. Right. And that's why we can't get any stage insurance, stage hypnosis insurance, because he didn't file his defence on time. Lovely, eh? So you need to use loopholes in the law to be able to perform legally, because there's a wonderful catch-22 now. A local licensing authority will only give you a licence to perform, okay, permission, if you can display that you have got a minimum of £1 million public liability insurance cover. That's all they ask for, public liability, which is ironic because at the end of the day, public liability insurance cover covers you for speakers falling on people and stuff, okay? It's not professional indemnity, which is what you need to cover you for if people claim that their minds have been fucked around by you. So even if we still had the equity insurance, okay, those people are in equity, even if we did still have it, it'd be £5 million of public liability insurance, great, you get your licence to perform. But if you actually got a claim against you, if you got found against for damages, the policy wouldn't cover it. It's not an indemnity insurance, it's not malpractice. So it's complete utter farce there, step one. Because there is no insurance, you therefore can't get a licence. If you can't get a licence, you technically legally can't perform anywhere in the United Kingdom. So basically you've got to use loopholes. Now there's loads of loopholes in the 1952 Hypnotism Act. These are all detailed in great depth in The Lazy Man's Guide to Stage Hypnosis, which I give you Mandela Bar's books, with all the documentation about how he went to court and all this kind of stuff. The biggest significant one is Section 5 of the 1952 Act, which states, and nothing in this Act, I'm trying to do it as word perfect as possible, but excuse me if I missed the odd word here and there, nothing in this Act shall prevent or prohibit the demonstration of hypnosis, stroke hypnotherapy, every connotation of the word, other than that, or in connection with an entertainment, if presented for scientific and research purposes only. What does this mean in real talk? What it means is this. You can do a show for research and scientific purposes only, and it's advertised, presented for research and scientific purposes. But obviously you've got to be researching something, which is why you get every one of your volunteers at the end of the show to fill in a questionnaire, which says name, date of birth, where you live, have you been hypnotised before, was it stage therapy, what did you feel about the experience tonight, all the usual convincing sounding stuff. You get them to sign it and date it. You've then collected data. The definition of doing that in the dictionary is research. Research is collecting data. Therefore, you are a research hypnotist. But as long as you intend to publish your findings, which I actually have published some of my findings by way of my books, or at least that's what I can prove in court. So as long as you kind of put on your website intended to be published 5 years from now, we're doing a 5-year study, and you start it all over again, you're collecting research. So you're a scientific research hypnotist. The problem with that loophole is, and here's the catch, it says, does not prohibit other than at or in connection with an entertainment, right? What this means is if you've got a booking for a nightclub, let's say, for example, and they've got live music playing, or they've got a band on, shall we say, if you step foot in that building while that band's on to set up your stuff, you're at an entertainment. You're in connection with an entertainment. So technically you're then not covered by saying you're a research hypnotist. If you get to the venue early, put your stuff in your dressing room, bugger off, and you're not on the premises, and you don't step foot on that premises until the band's packed up and gone. Which means that when you're booking the show logistically, you've got to tell the people this so that it can be scheduled into, you know what I mean? Because otherwise, everyone's thinking, why is there a big gap? And then you go in with nothing more than your, in a nightclub is there, might you use anyway. Then you're not at an entertainment because there's no other music playing when you walk in. You're not in connection with another entertainment because the moment you finish, you walk out of the venue. So then you are definitely a research hypnotist. To further compound it, and I say use all of these loopholes together, the lot. If you use them all, you've got a cast iron case then to defend yourself. Number 2 is, it does not prohibit self-hypnosis. All so-called hypnosis is self-hypnosis. And you know, the reason I'm videoing all this is because, quite frankly, I know there's going to come a stage where some UK stage hypnotist, if it's not me, is going to get took to court, swallow the pride, because they all hate me, most of them, and come and say, can you defend me? Can you help me, lawyer, me, barrister? And I say, yeah, cost you £5 for the videotapes of this seminar. Because it's the only way to perform now. Self-hypnosis. That's your loophole, so you get everybody up, or you put it on your posters. We now add another step, which is, so you're such and such, presented for research scientific purposes only, is this demonstration of self-hypnosis training. Now this is, you're thinking, this is going to bump people off coming to a live show. It won't anyway, but there's a clever way around that in a minute. So, if it's advertised in small print, you're a research hypnotist, you get a questionnaire, you've got that loophole. If you say you're going to teach people self-hypnosis, and then they're going to hypnotise themselves, and you phrase things when you're doing your inductions, get them up, you say, would you like to learn how to hypnotise yourself tonight? And then instead of saying you will go to sleep, you say you will allow yourself to go to sleep. You've taught them self-hypnosis and they've hypnotised themselves and the audience witness it. Now, would you be able to rely on the audience to stand up in court and defend you, you know, as a witness? Possibly not. So for the sake of £300-400 quid for a small, portable, digital, practically broadcast quality camcorder and a tripod, set near your performance area, you video every show you do from start to finish. Not only does this give you a product that you can sell via your website and after shows after, okay, which more than recovers your cost of the tapes for every show, but you time and date them, and they're only little mini tapes then, so in a filing cabinet you could get years worth of shows in there. If anyone ever does suddenly take you to court, you go through your filing cabinet, find the correct timed and dated one. On there you've got yourself going in the venue, your film going into the venue, your poster showing that it definitely stated scientific research purposes, self-hypnosis, volunteering entirely at your own risk and all that stuff. And then you actually doing the show where it shows everything from the start, your music, your voiceover saying nobody should take part tonight, who's epileptic. So you're showing that you're kind of sticking to some of the things of the 1952 Hypnotism Act. And that's all on tape. And then when you get them up, you say, do you want to learn self-hypnosis? That's all on tape. You're prepared to hypnotise yourself? That's all on tape. You're volunteering entirely at your own risk, aren't you? That's all on tape. Them signing the questionnaires at the end, it's all on tape. Plus you've got the questionnaires, which has got a disclaimer on there as well at the end that says I took full responsibility for what took place. It's so small that they can't possibly read it properly. But hey, you know, once they've signed that and you've got the video, that is your defence in court. Based on them loopholes. Your next loophole. It does not prohibit public demonstrations of hypnotherapy. Okay, so my argument is that if with careful wording, you was to put on your posters quite big that you're going to do a mass smoking weight loss confidence thing, or give the implication that people who attend will be able to stop smoking, lose weight, and you actually include that somewhere in your show, maybe at the end, as an extra add-on, yeah? And then you do all the start of the stuff, like you would do a stage show, but use the phraseology, we're going to show you the power of the mind so you can see how easily you will achieve your aim tonight. And you've got it videoed again, then all you're doing is getting them in the right state of mind for a successful hypnotherapy session. Combined with the fact that you're doing it for research and you get the questionnaires, combined with the fact you're doing nothing more than teaching them self-hypnosis, suddenly the 1952 Hypnotism Act doesn't exist. It only applies if you call yourself a hypnotist. So how can you advertise yourself as a hypnotist? Go out, not as a hypnotist, go out and do the Hypnosis Act, and people will come seeing you, knowing you're a hypnotist, but without stating you're a hypnotist, because obviously you want them to know what you're going to do so they come and put bums on seats, but you're not allowed to state it in the conventional sense, because otherwise you're saying you're a hypnotist as opposed to a research hypnotist. So obviously you've got to use the phrase research hypnotist. That's got to be on the poster somewhere. That's key thing somewhere. And you want them to realise that even though it might give the impression in big, big, big letters that it's going to be hypnotherapy or self-hypnosis, that they are actually going to see some fun, comical, entertaining stuff. So how do you do that without suddenly becoming at or in connection with an entertainment? Quite simply, you call yourself a mind magician or an imaginationist or something of that nature, okay? That is what goes at the top of your poster. At the bottom of your poster, in very small print, we've already covered entirely at your own risk and release forms. At the bottom of the poster, in very small print, and I mean, if you've got an A3 poster, you have it printed, not in portrait style, which only gives you that much width to fit the wording on. You have them printed landscape style so that the wording, disclaimer, can go across the bottom, and on an A3 poster, which is like about half of that again, but we'll use that as an example. A little disclaimer wiggled across here, which is big enough to read, but when you've got a nice big colour picture up here that catches their eye, and the words mind magician and whatever, but it's not hardly noticeable. People will read it, so you're covered legally, but it's not noticeable to the effect of being off-putting. So how do we therefore then transmit the fact that they're actually going to see some fun hypnotic stuff as well? We'd have a phrase in inverted speech marks, like so, which means that you're saying it's something like, that's what it means in law, it's something like, as opposed to saying this is a hypnosis show with comedy, you're saying it's like. So, you have a phrase that says something like, all the fun of a hypnosis show, but you hypnotise yourself. That phrase, all the fun of the hypnotism show, conjures up the image that you're going to get them doing comical things, which gets the bums on the seats, but by following it up with the, but you hypnotise yourself, you're going back again to all your loopholes over here, so you could double whammy from all angles, okay? And your small wording at the bottom, obviously you get a signed release form of these people, which is your questionnaire to cover you for research purposes, which is on one of the CD-ROMs that I'm giving you. The questionnaire has so many questions, it stands up, basically, the fact that you're doing research. It asks them, what did it feel like, what was it what you expected, because then in court you say, I'm researching the public's attitude, perception, and response to stage hypnotist performers. In light of all the controversy there's been in recent years, I am researching those effects to publish the data to validate that hypnosis is completely safe. But it's going to take me 3 or 5 years to get that much data to be taken seriously. And you've got a valid point.
How's McKenna getting away with this then? In your country,
well, McKenna's got, allegedly, I don't know. I am led to believe, and I have to use that phrase because we're videoing, I am led to believe and understand by what I have heard from various people, that he has business interest in America, so apparently, allegedly, he gets insurance there that covers him on the 30-day clause, meaning he can perform for up to 30 days in England, or at least his company can perform for 30 days in England, maximum. And then he does his tour all at once, all in the space of 30 days. He only tours once a year now, doing stage shows.
He's on power, he's on in Glasgow.
But that is what I believe he will be doing. Otherwise, what you have to remember is that Paul McKenna's in a fortunate position of, he hires the promoter Harvey Goldsmith to promote his shows. Harvey Goldsmith manages some of the biggest acts in the world when they come to England and stuff, and promotes them. And to convince the theatre that it's alright to let Paul do his show, because we're covered really, when they've putting so much through the box office during the rest of the year, would, I'm not saying that's what is happening, but would be very easy to be, you know, that could be what's happening because, you know, they won't want to lose all the business off Harvey Goldsmith. I don't know whether that's true, I'm not saying it's true, for the record for the camera, I haven't a clue if it's true, but to me personally, in my opinion, that makes very logical sense as to probably how, you know, it's getting round it. But there is no stage hypnotist in England, to the best of my knowledge, who has got public liability insurance that covers them as such, but there is, I'm coming to that, this is the beauty to end the day on. And who certainly doesn't have malpractice insurance, because there isn't malpractice insurance for stage hypnotists in England. So your phraseology at the bottom to cover you combined with all of those other points, and for legal reasons, I must point out that what I'm doing here is giving you advice. I personally choose to use these techniques. I personally have found them to work for 15 odd years. Delabar's found them to work for over 50 years. And there's a few other people use them. David Tabb found them to work. I'm not quite certain exactly how he's doing it, but Ray over there told me the other day, something I didn't know, a guy called Hugh Lennon is now saying on his website that he's exempt from the 1952 Hypnotism Act, because he does it different than other hypnotists. And then he's got the cheek to say, if you want to know, local councils, how I do it, then when I'm booked for a show in your area, you can buy The Secret off me for 100 quid if you want. But I'm telling you now, I'm exempt from the 1952 Act. And I'm assuming that all he would end up telling them is, it's self-hypnosis, it's research purposes, it's hypnotherapy, he's a mind magician, or as I would if I was defending myself in court, if I ever got took there, I'd go to the extent of in court, doing a show in court, which I'd have to be allowed to do because I'm entitled to a defence, and doing all the hypno tricks that I'm going to demonstrate in the morning, and explain, well basically show them this seminar and show them how there's no such thing as hypnosis.
There was, I wanted to do something in Luton, and I called the local council, and I spoke to the police constable was there. You know what he told me? If I send out invitations, and they come to my place, private invitations.
Private parties are exempt from the 1952 Hypnotism Act. Unfortunately, you can't get enough private party work sometimes to make a good living out of it. Public venues, there's more money in. But that is where another loophole comes in. We've covered them, but your wording would be something like, I'm saying something like, and this is all on the CD-ROMs and the stuff you take away, but you use these techniques entirely at your own risk. Another reason that I'm videoing this. If you use these techniques personally and ethically, I've got to advise you to consult your own lawyer and check out whether these techniques will work or whether you've landed yourself in the crap. I can tell you now, though, an average lawyer who doesn't understand what hypnosis is will tell you they won't work. However, lawyers who do understand hypnosis and are not anti-stage hypnotism will tell you that they work. Delabar's son is a barrister in London. He's cast his eye over everything. He says it works, that's good enough for me. But don't take my word for it. Find out for yourself, and I accept absolutely no responsibility for anybody in this room getting themselves in the shit for not dotting the I or crossing the T 100% correctly. But this is how I do it and many others do. So your poster at the bottom would say something like, volunteers who must be aged 18 or over participate entirely at their own risk during this demonstration of hypnotic style, mind magic, which is presented strictly for scientific and research purposes only. Hypnotic style gives the impression you're going to hypnotise people. Mind magic law says it's nothing more than doing mind stuff, and you can just say, well look, all I'm doing is the same kind of tricks as what Darren Brown does. And when they say, oh, well, he doesn't hypnotise people, say, well, no, neither do I. But you know, some would argue that he does, but he's just done a UK theatre tour and he never applied for a licence because he doesn't call himself a hypnotist. So, I mean, it worked for Darren Brown, just because it's something else. Didn't need a licence to perform. So I am led to believe, okay, I may be wrong there, but I am led to believe very strongly that he never applied for a licence for any of the theatres he did his UK tour in, which technically speaking, under the 1952 Hypnotism Act, he should have done, because he does place people into what some people perceive to be a so-called trance. So therefore, technically, he should have had that. You were saying about private members clubs, last little point for the day, and then as I say, tomorrow morning we will start on therapy, we will start on hypno-tricks you can use in the corporate stuff, how to use it to get sales messages across, how to use it in group sessions to get more belief from people. We'll cover the therapy side, marketing, we'll have, hopefully tomorrow if he's feeling up to it, doesn't get too drunk tonight. My good friend Craig Santini over there in the afternoon tomorrow will be hopefully giving us a little bit of a taster of the kind of work he does, and telling you about a really exciting seminar that he's got coming up. But I'll let him tell you about that. Right, private members club ploy. This is the only other ploy that's really loophole that's mentioned by me in the stuff you take away. And that is if you, as well as doing all this, as well as, not instead of, as well as, okay, so you've got real total coverage, advertise that members, only members of the Jonathan Royle or whatever fan club may attend this event. And instead of selling tickets, you sell one-night memberships to the Jonathan Royle fan club, which printed on them, saying small print, one-night membership is subject to the terms and conditions of fan club membership. Full details available on request from PO Box whatever, or online at, and you set up a cheap, simple website. And on there it lists that anyone who attends a Jonathan Royle fan club event as a fan club member, the membership rules are that you participate entirely at your own risk. You relinquish any rights you may have in British law for any potential compensation claim. You basically list everything that could ever happen to you to cause you problems, and they're the rules of being a member. So if people buy a membership for one night, they're subject to those terms and conditions on top of all of that stuff. And if you do that, but get your own advice first. Oh yeah, no, insurance, one final thing. Before I tell you about the insurance, which will bring today to an end, everybody who can possibly come to the Flying Horse Hotel, like as soon as we finish, which is right opposite the Town Hall in Town Hall Square, okay, in the town centre, Town Hall, right opposite it. Those of you getting videos and stuff, I want to be able to give you them today because there's 2 file boxes each. Then you can take them back to your hotels, your cars, those that are going home. Because we've got so much stuff to cover tomorrow that I don't want to be messing around having to give you all that stuff then. So I want to know you've got them so you don't end up going without bringing them and then we have to send them on to you or whatever. So finally, insurance. Equity say that their insurance does not cover stage hypnotists. If you look very closely at the policy, and any general theatrical entertainment insurance available from any insurance broker, it will state that excluded from that public liability. Remember, it's only public liability anyway. It doesn't cover you for malpractice claims, if they wanted to argue the toss in court. So therefore, you would still need to use all these loopholes to stop yourself getting sued from that point of view. But if you want to be able to show local councils you've got public liability, a lot of people are getting away with showing their equity cards and just saying nothing. But it says on it that you've got £5 million public liability insurance cover. It doesn't say on the card anywhere that it excludes stage hypnotists from the moment that they place people into trance. But my argument would be this, what would be very interesting would be for somebody, and I won't do it, and the reason I won't do it is because I'm using these loopholes, but I'd love somebody to get took to court who claim that they used their equity insurance to get the license to perform, and have a case going against them, and then I go and advise them what to say. Because if you look at that policy very closely, it states It does not cover stage hypnosis. It covers stage hypnotists to the point where they place people in trance. Prove that anybody was in trance. Because I'm damn certain a day spent in court, I can prove that nobody on that stage was in any form of trance, and we're just playing along, we're just doing what I told them to do, we're just doing mind magic, which is what you've been billed as. So therefore you are covered by the insurance because you're not placing anybody in trance. And I'd love somebody to tackle equity over that, because I've said it to them and they say, no, you're definitely not covered. I said, but I don't place people in trance, I don't hypnotise them. They said, well, you call yourself a hypnotist. I said, not anymore, I'm a mind magician. They said, yeah, but you get people doing stuff that's stage hypnosis. I said, yeah, but I don't do it the same way. They'd have to prove hypnosis exists, firstly. Secondly, they'd have to prove that you'd hypnotise people. I say the insurance should cover you if you've got a good enough lawyer. That's the trouble. Equity don't like spending money on variety acts, quite frankly. They'll spend it on actors to fight their cases, but not on variety acts. And equity, you can sue me for saying this if you want, or chuck me out. Right, wonderful. As I say, you do all that entirely at your own risk. Tomorrow is going to be all the therapy stuff and the hypno-tricks, which are the stuff that would also be very useful for your defence in court relating to all back to this, but also useful for your group sessions as convincers, for your public demonstrations and all that kind of stuff. We'll cover therapy and the way to get them into the genuine from the snoring. So, and it works every time without fail, trust me. It's not just boring them to death. And we'll cover a heap load of other stuff, the marketing, how to get celebrity clients, how to get into companies, how to make money, so much stuff it's unreal. Hence, I want you all to come that can to the Flying Horse, so we don't have that many boxes to bring. It's about, if we were to bring them all over here to you guys, 2 boxes each, it would actually take 3 trips in the 4-wheel drive we've got outside. And I do actually want to get as much sleep as I can in the morning before I come and be fresh to tell you everything tomorrow. So I hope you've actually learned something valuable today. I'm sure you have, whether you see that right now or it jumps into your mind the moment you're leaving the building and going to the Flying Horse. It's a completely different matter. But enter your mind, you've had a wonderful day. You will do all the same. If you've enjoyed it so far, my name's Jonathan Royle. I'll see you all tomorrow if you haven't. I'm Paul McKenna. Thank you.